But I'd like to hear what their price per square foot is too. So just remember that if you push to like, I know Stramberg and Kreider, but they're so backed out, I don't even know if they pay anymore. Has anybody asked them anymore if they'll pay you a commission for referral? Anybody?
For
who? Kreider, Stramberg, all that good stuff.
Probably not. Yeah.
I'm happy.
They're probably wanting to take a new build.
Yeah, I bet. So we need to all breach that out in the field and see who's paying. Yeah. I'm curious, you know.
Morning.
Hey!
What's up, crew? How's everybody doing?
Good. Where are you out in the world right now?
We're in Sedona.
Oh, nice. I fly in there in March, and so Caitlin and I are going to do a big hike in Sedona or somewhere.
Cool.
Awesome. I don't even know what it's called.
It's like the Rainbow Mountains or something.
Yeah, it's insane. I know.
Yeah. We'll be there then. So how long are you going to be here?
Just for Mom's weekend. I think it's like a quick 3 days or so.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't want to go, but I got the shaft when I said I didn't want to go. You said okay.
Kelly, have you been to Sedona before?
Yes, one time my cousin got married there, and it's gorgeous.
Oh man, yeah, it's incredible. There's so many places to hike. Like, it's just awesome.
It's like soothing there. All that, the colors, the rock. I don't know. It's just
yeah. They have a lot of, like, they call them vortexes, like these spiritually like calming places, and I don't know about all that, but it's pretty relaxing when you're in the places, though. It's pretty nice.
Absolutely. I need more time in the rock.
Cool. So you get everybody ready to rock then?
Let's rock.
Okay, awesome. So any kind of questions, comments, anything you'd hope I'd cover? Or you just want me to get going?
Send it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I'm gonna pop it up. We'll get moving. So just give me. Can one of you guys go to like the participants and enable screen sharing by chance? If you click on participants, I think you should be able to go to the more button or something like that. I think.
I just enabled.
Okay, cool. And we'll get that going. All right, awesome. All right, everybody, you see that okay?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, today we're gonna build on last week. I wanted to make these things to where if you worked any parts of the previous one, then great. If you didn't, then this will allow you to continue to build. But what I wanted to do today is talk a little bit about more perspective. And when I say perspective, there's 3 things when I'm really coaching clients right now that I want to be able to help them achieve. Number 1, high performance. That's what most professionals want. They want high performance. And a lot of the athletes I'm working with, they're really dialed in on this, but I've also learned that people are equally concerned with high personal wellness as well, like feeling good as they're doing it. Cause like, I don't know about you, but I don't know the point of being a high performer if you feel like crap all the time. That doesn't fit. And then the last one, just making sure that you have a passion for what you're doing as well. So high passion. So if we do these things right, we can really be effective in these spots. And really what we want to talk today about is more about gratitude and perspective. And it seems interesting, but gratitude to me is one of the ultimate, just strategies that you can use to maximize your performance. And Penn State is the best wrestling program in the country right now. And one of their secrets, their coach talks about, Cale Sanderson, is working gratitude and seeing things the right way. But I want to tell you right now, and I joke about this all the time. You'll hear me say this all the time. I hear a lot of coaches go, "Oh, we work that like Penn State." I said, "Do you?" I said, "Tell me about that." And they go through gratitude, but here's what they do. Yeah, I'm grateful for the opportunity to wrestle. I'm grateful for school. And it's like your brain's like womp, womp. Like you don't get anything out of that. And so you actually have to push yourself. When you see your goals, you need to learn to be excited about your goals. When I'm working with some of the wrestlers I'm working with, they're getting ready for the national tournament. And I tell them, if you see your goals and there's nothing there emotionally, you are not conditioning your body to be excited for what you want to do. And so even with professionals, you want to be able to do that at a high level. So to get things kicked off, the first thing I wanted to do, I had the chance a few years ago to do a TED Talk, and I was really, really nervous about it, but I got my mind right. And one of the things that I talked about in it was when I lost my job at the University of North Carolina. And it was unexpected. I didn't see it coming. It was a job that I planned on having. I had bought a house there. I was planning on staying there. And it really caught me off guard. And my mind wasn't completely right. I definitely wasn't a high performer. My personal wellness was not great. I was not passionate. In fact, I was probably struggling quite a bit. And I went through this process, though. I started to read Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And the book essentially what happened in the book. I won't ruin it, but he gets put in a concentration camp. And I think all but 1 or 2 of his family members were brutally murdered. And I'm reading this book and I'm sitting in the morning feeling sorry for myself about losing a job. And I'm reading and I'm going, man, like I'm kind of being a baby about this. Cause like, here's a guy who has some real problems. And that's not the point of what I wanted to do. But in my mind, I thought, wow, here's a guy who took one of the greatest challenges you could possibly ever have in your life. And instead of dwelling on that, he could have been, I don't know about you, but I would have been really, really angry about that. I think I might've wanted to get revenge. If I wasn't that, I would have been super sad. And he might've felt those things. But you know what he did instead? Instead of getting in those spots, he went out and he set up suicide watch camps, and he wanted to give people hope because he had this belief. And this to me it's just bananas to me that here's a guy in this situation that goes and he hangs onto this belief. He said, bad things can happen around you, but the greatest freedom that you have as a human being is your ability to choose the way you respond to any situation in life. And I'm sitting in the middle of what is my greatest challenge to this point, losing my job, my livelihood, how I'm going to support my family. And I thought to myself, there has to be a way I can see this differently. There has to be something good out of it. And I tried it and I just wasn't very good at it. So instead, I thought I needed to start smaller. So this picture up on the screen is a picture of my daughter with, at the time, Maya. And it was actually, this is after this story won't make sense because you go, she shouldn't be in diapers in this picture. I just put this picture up for illustration, but she was about 2 years old. And I thought, I think you can learn to love changing dirty diapers. I said, I'm going to take on dirty diapers because everybody hates changing dirty diapers, right? Anybody have kids here? Does anybody love it? Like, so just one. So just bear with me here. Bear with me here. I thought most people don't love that. It's messy. It stinks. It's not the best. And so I'm thinking I can change this. And then all of a sudden the universe sends me an opportunity because my wife's going to go out with Carter to do something. Anyways, she goes out with Carter and I'm doing a little bit of work. And Maya comes up to me and she goes, Daddy, I poopy on my finger. And I looked at it and I'm like, no, that's chocolate milk. That ain't poopy. I'm like, because she had chocolate milk. I was certain she'd put her finger in there and it was chocolate milk. And as I look closer, it is absolutely poopy. And listen, I am not equipped. My wife, I'm blessed. My wife handles like 95% of all diaper changes, maybe 98. I don't know. But okay, so this is my chance. And so she turns around and the poop is going all the way up her back, out her shoulder braids, on her neck. That is how she got it on her finger. So I'm going, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. This is, it's disgusting. And I'm going, okay, but I've got to change this. I've got to figure it out. I've got to find a way. There has to be a way to learn to love this. And so she's sitting on the ground and I'm trying to wipe what I can wipe. And it's this messy. I use all kinds of wet wipes. And I'm sitting here and I'm going, I'd rather be anywhere than right here, right now, changing the color. And so I'm failing miserably at this, but it always comes down to perspective. And I reminded myself in the middle of this perspective and I stopped and I reminded myself of a story I had heard just weeks before about a guy named Tom Ryan. He's the head coach at Ohio State University, a really, really neat guy. And Tom, when he was younger, was playing hide and seek with one of his sons. He's 5 years old and he's running around and his kid collapses on the ground and he's not breathing. And 14 minutes go by. And he finally picks his kid up. He runs down the street. He goes around the corner. He's trying to get to close to the ambulance. 45 minutes later, Teague is pronounced dead. And he said it's one of the most difficult things he's ever had to deal with. And I can't even imagine. And I tell you that because it's like, wow, it's crazy. He's gone on to live in his honor. He's won a national championship. He's this really, really cool guy who's just influential in the sport. But I also tell you, it was that I reminded myself of. I stopped and I said, I'd rather be anywhere else right now. I remind myself of Tom Ryan. And in a moment I stopped and I'm like, I'm blessed to be able to change this diaper. I may not prefer it, but I'm blessed to get to change this little girl's diaper. And it was this crazy lesson to me. It made me realize that you can change the way you see anything. Most of us are running around, even in the things that we love, our goals and our passion areas, and we allow ourselves to default into burden, obligation. And instead, if you can actually stop and train your brain to see opportunity, to see blessing, to see those things the right way, it frees you up. It actually makes you excited to do things. So I just wanted to lead with a story. Generally, people like stories a little bit, but this will completely illustrate the point of what we're going to focus on today. So in terms of some of the lessons I learned from my journey, though, from getting fired and then coming back, is number one, I had way more control over my thoughts, emotions, and actions than I ever realized before. I had no idea that I could actually learn to control my focus. And by doing that, I could get these incredible emotions that would drive my performance, personal wellness, passion. So that's number one. Number two thing I learned, perspective will always spark your potential. The best performers on the planet look at things that are challenging and they see opportunity. They see a gift. They see a chance to get better. And what happens with other people who don't, they see it as a burden. Your brain hates burden. You might have these incredible goals, but if we get in the habit of seeing, oh, I have to do this, man, have to will really, really crush your energy, your clarity, everything, versus getting to the point where you go, I get to. This is one of those things that high-level athletes really work on, is the get to mentality. And then number three, if you can control your focus where it's pointed, you have a key to not only crushing it performance-wise, but having a happy and fulfilling life. So I just had no idea. Like I could get into a lot of times where I fell short on this as a wrestler, as a professor. But once I learned this, I'm way more fulfilled now, and I'm better as a coach as well. So in terms of focus, though, the underlying essential foundation that we want to talk about today, there's two things, and then we're going to cut into the lesson. Number one, it is important to know like where you want to go. We talked about that last week. Knowing the goals that you have, those things are really, really important. And it's also important to focus on how. Right? How are you going to get there? And you have a great leader and a great team where you know some of your goals and you have some strategies in place, but your ability to focus on them the right way consistently and seeing opportunity is the coolest thing. And the ability to focus in on it, that's what we're going to be focused on today. So in terms of one final thing, why is perspective so important? Why is it so essential? I think you probably get it already, but number one, it will help you change the way you see circumstances you're facing in your life. It's not only how you see those things that you really love. Listen, adversity comes to everybody. Nobody's immune from that. And when that time comes, your ability to choose it productively will change your life. And I'll tell you some things that I've really been able to work that were life altering, but this is really important. Two, in any situation you're facing, anything I learned from Viktor Frankl, it's that you always have two ways that you can see it. Number one is you can see it in a way that doesn't serve you. And I think if you're just like, it's whatever, that still isn't serving you, but you can choose to do it, to see it that way, or you can choose to see it in a way that serves you, to gives you the emotions you want, allows you to really charge forward. And then the final thing, your response to the situations that you have in life will impact your attitude, which is your thoughts. It'll impact your quality of emotions. This is the thing that's been so powerful for me. The more I control my thoughts, the more I get these really awesome emotions. The more that I have these emotions, I love my life and it drives my performance. And then guess what? Your energy starts to skyrocket when you focus on the right things. And when you're dialed in on the right thoughts, emotions, and you have really good energy, man, productivity and results tend to flow. But this is the same concept as last week. Listen, you can have the best strategy in the world. And if your psychology and your mindset is wrong, you'll really, really struggle. So that's where we're going to be focused on today, is just giving you some super uber simple habits that you can do to make all of this tie in. So in terms of this one final thing, I had to pop this up too. This is on the top of Mount Erie. Obviously a gorgeous place, one of the most beautiful places you can go. I think like Anacortes is like up the Northwest Sedona. Sedona's like different version down here, but equal beauty. But here's one of the greatest skill sets that you can develop. If you can train your brain to look at challenges and see opportunity, that to me is one of the master skill sets to create change in your life. But don't wait and hope that this happens. Create the right habits to where your brain will naturally look at challenges and A, say, bring it on, but B, there's something really good that's going to come out of this. And that's a really, really high level skill set. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. So in terms of what we're going to do today, we really have, probably about a 15-minute pocket. We're going to do three things. The first thing we're going to talk about is just cultivating a desire to be different. You know, it's really, really important. I think in our society, there's so much pressure to fit in and follow the norm. If you want to live a really extraordinary life, you got to not only cultivate a desire to be different, you need to be willing to take your own path. So we'll talk about that briefly. Number two, we're going to talk about the importance of picking your perspective. When it comes to your most important areas, how are you going to see them on a daily basis? And it is super important that you pick that. And then number three, training your brain to find the gift. in those areas that are important to you. When it's challenging, looking for the gift. When you get dumped down and you are facing adversity, how are you going to see that? We can train your brain to be so quick at processing those things that you don't actually have to feel pain for long periods of time. Instead, you can bounce back up. So those are 3 really important skill sets. So the first one, and when I'm teaching a course on this, this is one of the things that people really, really like, is just this idea of cultivating a desire to be different. It's one of the engines that drive this process, meaning if you just kind of want to fit in and just hang out with the crowd and do your thing, then this probably is not the best fit for you. But if you're thinking, man, you know what? I want to have a really cool life, not only in business, but at home, in my relationships. I want to travel, whatever it is. If you want to have a cool life, you're going to have to be willing to take your own path. That's what I've learned. Anything from this journey we're on, you have to be willing to step outside of that. But when you choose uncommon, it radically changes how you see challenges. This is your initial perspective shift. And so one of the things that I really love to encourage people to do, pick an inspiring personal motivantra. And motivantra is not even a word. I just threw 2 things together. Motivational, like a motivational type topic, but like a mantra. So it's a motivational mantra, right? Motivantra. And so some of the things that I've really seen that drives people in a cool way. And if you say you think this is cheesy, then don't use it. But this is, I think it's really cool, high level stuff. It's just some of the things that have really served me. Number 1, reminding myself when things are hard, earn the right, earn the right to go out and actually have something really, really cool. If there's things that you want, don't be afraid to keep showing up for those things. That really motivates me. These might not be your thing, but pick something that motivates you, that you can wake up and be excited about every day when you're looking at your vision. Or when things get challenging, you can use it to refocus yourself. One that I love, bring the bliss. I don't want to actually go through my days and have to be grinding it. I don't want it to be something that I'm dreading. Instead, I want to learn to look at coaching and be so excited about my coaching. I want to be able to go into my parenting, which I do not succeed at all the time, and be just pumped about that too. Parenting is super hard, so that doesn't always work that way. But I want my kids to say, yes, he brought joy, he brought excitement, he brought energy. And so that's something I remind myself to do as well. And we will do funky dancing and music in our household because we want to bring that bliss. And it says bless there, that's misspelled. You could do it that way as well. You could bring the bless, but it's bliss in this instance. And then the last one, this one really, really motivates me. It motivates me to make better decisions in my eating, better decisions in drinking water, getting sleep, being a charger. I love the idea of being a charger for my coaching clients, where they can come and they can always charge up and not only get energy off of these sessions, but get strategy in that to really elevate to the next level. Because I don't know about you, but there's a lot of drainers out there, people that you're around where you really feel that. And I don't want to be that ever to a person. I want to be the person where they can come around and they can get that energy. So would I remind myself of these things every morning when I'm saying energy, pursue energy, be a charger, that's exciting for me. And we'll talk about values and that on a future session, but this is really cool. If you can find one that you like, be uncommon, just do it, whatever works for you. Try to use that in your process to get you excited and get you motivated. The number 2 thing is picking your perspective. And this is going to seem super, super simple, but it's one of the most important things that I work with clients on. And again, you look at athletes and it's just this very clear, not even athletes, but athletes and professionals, performance is so incredibly important. And yet a lot of the time we get to where we look at it, and I've said it before, we have to do it. And it's such an interesting thing that when you feel like you have to do something, think about it. I don't actually like having to do anything. My brain hates that. When I feel like I get to, man, that's the special spot. And so you got to make a decision. Think of the areas of your life that are the most important. We talked about that last week. If it's your family, if it's your work, if it's your vitality, then you got to choose. Are you going to allow yourself to fall into seeing them as a burden, or are you going to choose to see them as a blessing? And if you don't believe this happens, just think back to your life. When you get caught up in a day-to-day and you don't remind yourself how you're going to pursue it, it's really, really easy to fall into the burden. What does the burden look like? Well, first off, before I get to that, it's oh man, I have to do this, or oh man, I should do this. And Tony Robbins talks about when you should do something, you end up shitting all over yourself. It's a cheesy joke, but it's one that he talks about. It's totally true because your brain doesn't like that. But burden or blessing, when you choose burden or you don't take advantage of what you're doing, if you wake up every day and you allow your phone to be the first thing that you see, and you're distracted and you get a lot of negative energy from that. And I know your team doesn't provide negative energy. I've seen your videos, you're upbeat, you're happy, but not everybody does it that way. And when you get up and you don't set the tone in your life, it's very easy as a parent to see it as a burden. Super easy to get in a relationship and go, oh man, like I have to do this, or this person sure is a pain in the butt. And it literally drags on your life. And what does that look like? Well, first off, burden is pain. Your brain doesn't like that. We talked about last week, when you feel like you have to do something, your brain will avoid it at all costs. On the flip side, if you can change it, and you can even look at something like getting in better shape. If you can learn to look at it and go, man, this is an opportunity to have energy, to live longer, for me to like hike with my son when I'm 85 years old and my grandkids, that's opportunity. Your brain loves that. So that's pleasure. On the flip side, what does burden look like? Dread. If you're dreading something, you're dreading calls or something like that. I know those things are hard, but you're probably seeing it wrong. You're probably looking at it going, I don't want to get rejection. And it feels like a burden. On the flip side, if you can change the way you see it and go, this is an opportunity. If I keep reaching out, I can help somebody get the house of their dreams. I can create the type of revenue to go on this vacation that I want. That is not only not dread, that's excitement. Man, I just got off a phone call with a wrestler who's top 5 in the country at the Division I level. He could win the national title this year. One of the biggest things we're trying to get him to see. This is not something to dread. It's not something, it's not like, oh, if we lose, it's going to be this. No, this is an opportunity. You get to do this. You chose this. Be grateful for this. And it's a really huge step, but that's what I want him to feel. And then the last one, what burden does, when you feel like something's a burden, it blocks you. It stops you from moving forward. It just drains your moving forward. And don't get me wrong, you can unequivocally grind yourself to good performance. I don't believe that that's not true. I've done that before as a wrestler. But what happens is you grind yourself and you get worn out at some point. Why not find a way so it feels like an opportunity, you're excited, and then you have these small moments when you need to grind through, but you don't want to be grinding all day long. It's exhausting. And so the last one, instead of blocking you, empowering you, freeing you up. And this one is really crazy simple. It's make sure that you wake up in the morning, and when you're looking at your goals and what you want to be doing, choose how you're going to see them. Notice the ways where you're looking at it as a burden, and instead stop and choose to see it as a blessing. You choose to do this. When you step in the office every single day, remind yourself, this is an opportunity to create something special, right? And if you remind yourself, your brain will follow suit on that. So that's step number 2. These are uber simple. It's really just a motivantra that motivates you, choosing how you're going to see something, implementing that with your goals. And then the final one, this is maybe where rubber hits the road. This is where there's a real legit habit that can transform your life. And it's so important. Train your brain to find the gift. If you only did this, it would create a radical shift in your life. It's really implementing daily exercises to train your brain to look for and to expect great things to happen. It's really easy in our society to look around and look and go, oh man, everything's crap. I was sitting the other day in the hot tub at one of these places. Most people at RV parks are pretty optimistic, but these people were in there talking, and they were talking about how crappy the world is. Oh, it's all crap and there's nothing good. And I try to stay out of it. When I'm in the spot where I'm not being asked to coach, I don't try to volunteer my coaching because it generally isn't taken very well. But I remember stopping and going, the world doesn't suck. There are some challenges, but there's some amazing people out there. There's amazing people doing awesome things. There are people who are showing up every day trying to make it better. The news just doesn't cover it. The news just covers all the garbage most of the time. They don't cover this stuff. So it's not true, but we have to train our brain to look for good. If you want to be one of those examples who pulls people up, you've got to be able to do that. And so here's the core essential habit. This is one of the most important habits, along with meditation, which we'll talk about in the next session, meditation, visualization, but it's gratitude. Gratitude is one of the single most important habits. Learned it from Viktor Frankl. Why? Because when I was feeling sorry for myself about losing my job, I didn't realize that I was in the middle of this period that could be crazy transformational for me. And when I realized it, I thought, wow, like, man, I may have lost my job, but dude, I've got this amazing wife who loves me anyways. I got these kids who don't give a rip if I just lost my job. And I'm not saying I wanted it, but I'm so blessed. He lost those things. I've got this health where I can go out and do my thing. I live in this country where I can go out and use my skill sets. And what I started to realize is those were blessings, right? Those were things that I could choose to get up every single day and be grateful for. And it started a practice where I would wake up every single day And I would take the 3 areas of my life that were most important to me, where I had good things. And every day I would wake up and I would think about why I was grateful for them. And I don't just write them down. I don't just write them and go through the motions. I every day write down the word family first. And I will close my eyes if I need to. I will visualize if I need to, but I will remind myself I'm a speaker, so voice works for me. Under my breath, I'll just think, I am so grateful for the opportunity to be their father and to be her husband. It is one of the greatest gifts that I've ever been given, and I never want to take that for granted. And I push myself to feel that. I tell people, if you do gratitude and you have some tears, you're probably winning at gratitude. You don't have to feel tears, but if you drum it up like that, and I've got these like muscly, like grown men wrestlers who do this and tell me I had tears. I'm like, fantastic. That means you're starting to understand gratitude. And here's the cool thing about performance. If you can go through and you can remind yourself, I have these 3 things that are amazing. Number one, it's going to elevate your energy. It's going to teach you that you have some awesome things, but you know what it's going to do? Free up your potential, free you up to make that call. You want to know why? Because even if I get a no on this call, man, I'm so blessed to have these things. It's really, really incredible. There's so many benefits to it. You can look them up. Gratitude is so important, but you can't go through the motions. You have to push to feel gratitude. That's what makes Cale Sanderson and Penn State unique. When they walk out at a national tournament, they have practiced gratitude. So when they're in the semifinals and everybody else is nervous, they're stepping out and they're going, I'm grateful. I chose this. I want this. And that's a calming and exciting. Most people know this. Gratitude is one of the highest emotions you can possibly experience. Just imagine if you woke up every day and you made it a practice of feeling that. So when you got into the office, you're like, man, I'm grateful for this. Your brain wouldn't know any other ways. You get in a pressure situation, you can use it more because you've created that pathway. So that's the 3, right? Your 3 most important areas. Write them down every single day. The one's the magic, though. This has changed my life more than any habit. Maybe meditation is the only one that comes to close or is better. And I call it, what's the gift? And I learned this from Viktor Frankl, because in that time where I lost my job, what I learned is that there has to be something good here. So I woke up every single morning and I started to say, what could I be grateful for? And at first my brain was like, nothing, dummy. You got fired from your job. There's nothing good. And people are saying, oh yeah, that doesn't happen. Yes, it does. Your brain talks back to you all the time. And you have to learn to say, shh. And instead I said, no, I'm stubborn. And so I kept getting up and I kept saying, what could I be grateful for? And eventually my mind was like, man, like maybe this could be that opportunity for you to go out and become an entrepreneur, be a coach, be a speaker, like inspire people. And my brain was like, I don't know about that, probably because of fear. But I kept asking. And then I started to answer. And then I started to go, that is it. And then I started to go for it. Even in the middle of fear, I started to move forward. And then eventually I proved it to be true. And then I was like, holy moly. I didn't do what Viktor Frankl did, but I did my own thing. And I thought, wow, I took this incredible challenge that could have like really got me stuck. And I turned it into a gift. At that point, I started to take my biggest challenges. I started to go, what's the gift? I wouldn't even ask what I'm grateful for. I'd say, what's the gift? Every single morning I do this. 2 years go by, I keep asking myself this. And then all of a sudden COVID comes along. And when COVID comes along, I tell people I lost initially $35,000 in business in 2 weeks. That was how I supported my family. That's a lot. And people say, did you panic? Did you freak out? I'm like, I honestly didn't. And it's not like a prop myself up thing, because I don't think I'm that impressive for it. But immediately my brain was like, what's the gift? What's good here? Why? Because for 2 years, I had asked that question with my biggest challenges. My brain only knew that way. And so all of a sudden I said, what's the gift? Well, I could work on my online programs. I could do my online coaching. I could start working with programs more in depth, and it would free me up to do some of these things like traveling. Now here I am 3 years later. Well, it's only 2 years later, if that, but I'm going, wow, like I get to travel. I'm in Sedona. I get to do like 4 or 5 coaching calls with people that I love today, get to make a living. Like, how cool is that? Right? But you have to train your brain in the middle of things that are challenging to not sit there. Don't stay there. You might need to process the emotion, but then immediately see what could be good here. What's the gift? Because in the middle of this challenge is something incredible. I don't know any other way. When I was in college, and I'll just give you an example of this, I may have told you this before, my girlfriend at the time hooked up with one of my best friends from high school. Not a fun situation, right? Maybe even embarrassing to tell you. But you know what? I finally walked away from her. I got my mind focused on things that are better, met my wife 6 months later. Best thing that ever happened to me. I've had so many so we might have an example in the crowd, but like, it's the coolest thing. Like, not for you. I didn't mean that. I meant for me, the coolest thing that I've learned is that in these challenges, if you'll get back up and if you'll look, it'll lead you on this incredible path to something better. But you got to train your mind to look for it. Otherwise, it's super hard. But wake up every day and do this. It'll literally change the way you do everything. Real-time application, pick something in your work that's challenging. Could be calls. I don't know what it is, something that you really, really struggle with, and take this combo. Take your motivantra if it's like, I don't know what it is, earn the right, bring the, whatever it is, be a charger. And then what you do is you look for what's good in it, right? You train your brain to see it as an opportunity and you move into it, but work it in real time. And then what's really important, I'll talk about this more next time, is this: when you follow through on this, I might have talked about this a little bit last week. I'm going to emphasize it every single session. If you do your gratitude, when you finish and it goes well, or you just follow through, celebrate. You need to learn to celebrate. Here's what high performers do, and it blows me away. This same kid I just got off the phone with, top 5, could win a national title. He eats clean. I don't remember if I told you this last week. He eats very clean. He has 35 meals he eats in a week. He eats 33 of them clean. As a college student living on his own, that is staggering. But do you know what? He feels like he's failing. 33 out of 35 meals clean, 95% success rate. He feels like he's falling short and he doesn't deserve to win a national championship. That's crazy, right? He goes 33 times at eating clean meals. He says nothing to his brain. He doesn't condition any pleasure at all. All he does is wait until 34. And when he falls short, boom, he jumps all over himself. I told him, you are literally conditioning your brain to avoid the thing that you're doing. And I told him, here's what you need to do. You need to go into this week, and when you get a meal right, yep, that's one step closer to becoming a national champ. Proud of that. You get 3 days in, you get 5 days in. Oh man, we are getting closer. This is big. Like, not only are you building confidence, you're associating pleasure with the thing that you want. What I like to do is create a flow with my habits. I don't want to battle myself to meditate. I don't want to battle myself to do gratitude. I want to love it so much that I do it every day so I can save my energy for those moments where I need to be calm with my kids, or save that energy for where I can coach my clients the best that I can, right? But it's super, super important that you really, really learn that. So celebrate your wins. Get funky if you have to. I imagine this is a group that seems a little bit funky, so I can do that. You know, maybe there's flex people, maybe there's fist bump people. I don't know, that maybe there's people that dance with music, whatever it is. Allow your brain to go, wow, this is good, but don't miss. You go through and you reach out to 10 people and your energy is really good. Celebrate that regardless of their outcome, because your process was good. That's what's important. So really, really important that you do that. So just to wrap things up, action steps, if you want to move these things. Number 1, pick a motivantra. I should have put motivantra there, it'd be better. That drives being different, and emphasize it each morning. Remind yourself, be uncommon, be funky, bring the bliss, whatever motivates you, just remind yourself that to set the tone. Find something that's personal to yourself, something that inspires you to be your best. You don't have to tell people about it if you don't want to, but use that every single morning. I don't know about you. I like, not in a way where I want attention anymore, but I like being different. When somebody says I'm weird, I take that as a compliment. I don't see it. You know, when you're young, you're weird. We feel like, oh man, I don't want to be weird. I want to fit in. Now it's like, somebody sees weird. I'm like, good, must be doing something right. I don't know. I don't take it personally, but find something like that. Number 2, write down your 3x1 bless bang. One of the most powerful things. Don't mail it in, feel it. Use your different modalities, close your eyes and see it. Say it out loud if you have to. Find the angle that really cultivates just gratitude in your body. And when you feel it, don't push it down. We're taught to like not feel emotions. Allow those emotions to come up. Do that with your 3. Take your biggest challenge. And man, when you change it, when you find that gift and your brain's like, that could be it, don't be afraid to move forward on that and do that. And when you do, celebrate that, you know? And then the last one, using that 1-2 combo in your days, pick your biggest challenge, use that motivantra in real time. Remind yourself, you know, for me, bring the bliss. I'll remind myself, what's the gift? Man, I get to coach these people. It's a blessing. It's not a burden. This session is not a burden to me. It's a blessing. And so I've had to remind myself that, because 2 years ago, I would get nervous about my talks and I would focus too much on what it meant for me. And that caused anxiety. Instead, when I stopped and remind myself, be a charger, Coyote, get in there and serve your people, and remind myself, what's the gift? Man, getting to change people's life. That's a gift. And that's a gift that will also drive business. So for you, get yourself in the right space. When you change that, that deserves a big celebration, because you just flipped a big challenge. Okay. So with that being said, we're at the end. We came fast and furious. Any questions or comments or anything like that?
I just love how fast you talk. That's like my brain goes neck and neck with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And no, it's, and the biggest thing that I try to tell people that I work with now is like, if there's things that you want to change, figure out the habits that will drive that and really create that change in your mind. Because like people who want to work gratitude, they're like, oh, I tried it. Like first off, they'll say, or meditation, they're like, I tried it and it didn't work. And I'll be like, well, tell me about it. They go, I did it for like 3 days, but like, I just didn't feel it. And I'm like, wait, like 3 days, like you've been ungrateful your whole life. Like you at least need to, I don't say that, but I'm like, listen, you got to give yourself, and I'm nice about it. I'm totally joking right now. I tell them, because I'm nice to my clients. I say, you know, I said it's going to take time and it's going to take the right conditioning. You're going to have to praise the right things. And, you know, with meditation, especially, well, I did it like 3 days. I'm like, man, like, no, like this is going to take you some weeks. And once you get the weeks in, it'll start to quiet things. But when it comes to gratitude, it will elevate every part of your business, every part of your personal life. But it ain't something that you're going to do one time and it's going to change things. Like there's studies on Facebook that people get so excited about sharing and they'll put it like gratitude lights your brain up. Totally true. But you got to work it consistently to continually light that part of your brain up. And here's the coolest thing to me with your brain. The more you do it, the more you can access it. So when you're in a performance type situation, it's easier to get there. So that's why I love habits and you know, basically praising them and conditioning them right.
Thank
Cool.
you. That was amazing. I love
Yeah,
your-
thanks, crew. I didn't know which one I was in between like meditation, mindfulness, and this one, but I think this one will set us up better. The next one though, meditation, mindfulness will be a really huge step, but these will all go together. So the more you can even pick tiny parts of this, these will all build. And within 8 months, it would be, you could have some really profound change. So thanks, crew. You know how to reach out. Hit me up if you need anything. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Have a good one.
Awesome, crew. See you later.